Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Jeremiah Ellison, and I'm the chair of the Policy and Government Oversight Committee. I'm going to call to order our regular meeting for Monday, April 24th, 2023. I'll now have the clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Vito,
Present.
Chavez,
Present.
Kowski,
Present.
Johnson,
Present.
Vice Chair Wansley,
Present.
and Chair Ellison.
Here.
We have 6 present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. We have 20 items on the consent agenda, which I'll now read for the record. 1, passage of ordinance related to appointed position in the Health Department, Director of Health Operations. Passage of ordinance related to appointed positions in the City Clerk's Office, Deputy Director, Elections and Voter Services. Authorizing a collective bargaining agreement, ASME Water Unit 2023 through 2025. Authorizing collective bargaining agreement, Minneapolis Building Trades Unit 2022 through 2025. Approving capital long-range planning, capital long-range improvement committee appointments. Accepting bid for high-speed overhead door replacement project. Accepting bid for Lindale Avenue pedestrian improvements project. 8, accepting bid for 37th Avenue Northeast Road reconstruction project. 9, authorizing contract amendment with Black and Veatch Corporation for design and construction engineering services for the 10th Avenue Bridge Water Main River Crossing project. 10, authorizing contract amendment with ICE Mortgage Technology, Inc. for loan administration software services. 11, authorizing contract amendment with the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension for DNA analysis of Minneapolis Police Department case evidence. 12, authorizing contract amendment with Fairview Health Services for clinical lab services for the school-based clinic program. 13, authorizing contract amendment with Bolton and Mink, Inc. For engineering and design services for the Bryant Avenue South reconstruction project. 14, authorizing contract with Hennepin County for continued lease and election tabulation, electronic roster, and assistive voting equipment. 15, approving legal settlement, Brian Cody versus City of Minneapolis. 16, approving legal settlement, Marquis Stewart and Leona Hood versus City of Minneapolis. 17, approving legal settlement, Stephen Meldal versus City of Minneapolis. And I just feel compelled to illustrate that we are settling with Stephen Meldal, but we are not giving him any money. 18 is approving legal settlement, Harold Wright v. City of Minneapolis and State Farm Mutual Automobile Insurance Company. 19, approving legal settlement, workers' compensation claim for Ramel Bacon Brown. And 20 is approving a legal settlement, workers' compensation claim for Jamie Karshbaum. Is there any discussion on any of these items? I'll call on my Vice Chair Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. I just wanted to note on items 15 and 16 that these are settlements for residents who were injured when they were hit by MPD officers driving squad cars. These officers were also determined to be at fault, so now taxpayers are footing the bill. I raise this because this is one more way that MPD is costing the city some dollars through their misconduct and recklessness, and just want to uplift that. So, highlighting that.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing no further discussion, I'll move approval of all of these items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Aye on all items except 19 and 20.
All right.
And I'm aye on all items except 20.
20. All right. Were the clerks able to capture that? Great. Next, we have a presentation related to the appointed positions in both the Race, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Department, as well as in the Office of Public Service. I now invite Heather Johnston, our Interim City Operations Officer, to begin this presentation. And welcome, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. Appreciate it. I am going to actually kind of cover the next 2 items on the agenda, both together, and then then HR will start covering the the detailed of the presentation. I'll stay for questions, and so if there are questions that come out of either presentation, we can certainly cover that as well. Really what I'm here to talk about is some of the positions that were created as part of your actions in the budget process and the reorganization last fall. And so the only item that we're bringing forward to you today is really to the determination by HR that these positions should be in the unclassified service. And Ms. Miller will go through the different pieces that are required under charter for that. That is a charter requirement that we bring new unclassified positions to the council. These positions were funded as part of the adopted budget, and so really we're just trying to go through and finish the processing. So with that, as you all know, through the reorganization, this is kind of the new org chart that's split into several different areas. The Office of Public Service, the Office of Community Safety, and the Office of the City Attorney, and then the legislative side being the Office of the City Clerk and the Office of the City Auditor. All of the positions that we're talking about today are covered in the Office of Public Service. The total annual budget FTEs are roughly 4,247. That was what was adopted last year. So all of these positions under the Office of Public Service are to appoint to the City Operations Officer or designee. And so the way that we have chosen to organize the work is through having these 6 direct reports: civil rights, public works, race, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and then these 3 deputy city operations officer positions. As you can see, we've grouped and roughly the same amount of FTE in each of these, roughly around 500 FTE. There's the Deputy COO for Internal Services, the Deputy COO for Communications and Engagement Services, which is currently occupied by Fatima Moore, and then the Deputy COO for Development, Health, and Livability. And so the FTE splits out with Internal Services being about 465, Communications and Engagement Services is about 560, and then health and livability is 562. I was also asked to bring forward some information about the Department of Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging as part of your budget actions. That division, which was formerly in the coordinator's office, was elevated to a department. As a part of that process, we look through the job description, change the things that the expectations in terms of what is expected of a division director versus a department head. And so we have gone through that process, and that position is also ready. And again, we're going to have some more details on that particular position, and that is before you as well. This is the current organization chart for the work of the Department of Race, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. So with that, I can either stand for questions now, or I can bring Director Miller forward and she can present the details. What is your pleasure, sir?
I think Director Miller would be great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Ellison and Vice Chair Wansley and the rest of the members of the committee. I'm Brenda Miller. I'm the Compensation and Classification Manager for the city. I'm here to talk about the Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Director. This was a new appointed position that has been established at 685 points, grade 15. We're requesting that the committee forward the request for approval for appointment as an unclassified position to the City Council. This position will support, as was said earlier, the city operations, we'll work with the City Operations Officer in the Office of Public Service. The Director of REIB assists departments in developing goals and expectations to advance racial equity, accelerating the city's efforts and progress around racial equity goals, and creating accountability mechanisms for ensuring reporting to policymakers. I won't go through the rest of the duties as that's already been discussed. The financial impact is that at step 2, the 2023 annual cost for the director of REIB, including base pay and benefits, is $203,626, and the cost will be paid by the REIB's department existing budget. The position meets the criteria of Section 201010 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances. The person occupying the position must report to the head of the designated city department or the designated city department's head deputy. The director of REIB reports to the city operations officer. The person occupying the position must be part of the designated, thank you. The person occupying the position must be part of the designated department head's management team. And so the REIB director is part of the Office of Public Services executive management team. The duties of the position must involve significant discretion and substantial involvement in the development, interpretation, and implementation of city or department policy. In this case, the director REIB leads the development and implementation of city policy goals and strategic planning as it relates to racial equity, inclusion, and belonging. Next, the duties of the position must not primarily require technical expertise where continuity in the position would be significant. The duties of the director of REIB require leadership, vision, team building, strategy implementation, and progress evaluation. And finally, there is a need for the person occupying the position to be accountable to and loyal to and compatible with the mayor, city council, and the department head. In this case, thank you. The director REIB is responsible for establishing policies and goals and strategies that must be approved by and consistent with the goals and priorities established by the mayor, city council, and city operations officer. This position will work closely with the city operations officer, other department heads in the city, and elected leadership. Trying to remember to advance the slides this time. Thank you. The 3 new deputy appointed positions in the Deputy City Operations Officer have been established at 850 points, grade 18. We're requesting that the committee forward the request for approval of these positions to City Council as unclassified positions, and the positions will report to the City Operations Officer as been previously discussed. I won't go into the job duties as that's already been discussed. The financial impact is that starting at step 2, the estimated 2023 annual cost for a deputy COO, including base pay and benefits and fringe, is about $243,000. The cost will be paid through the department's existing budget, which, as previously mentioned, was approved as part of the 2023 budget. The last part goes into section 201010 and how the positions meet the criteria for unclassified positions. Again, the person occupying the position must report to the head of the designated city department or designated city department head's deputy. In this case, the deputy COOs report to the city operations officers. The person occupying the position must be part of the designated department head's management team. The deputy COOs, in this case, are part of the city operations officer's executive management team. The duties of the position must involve significant discretion and substantial involvement in the development, interpretation, or implementation of city or department policy. In this case, the deputy COOs lead the development and implementation of city policy goals and planning as it relates to their assigned areas of responsibilities. The duties of the position must not primarily require technical expertise where continuity in the position would be significant. In this case, the duties of the deputy COOs require leadership, vision, team building, strategy implementation, and progress evaluation. And finally, there is a need for the person occupying the position to be accountable to, loyal to, and compatible with the mayor, city council, and the department head. Again, the deputy COOs are responsible for establishing policy goals and strategies that must be approved and consistent with the goals and priorities established by the mayor, city council, and the city operations officers. These positions will work closely with the city operations officer, department heads in the city, and elected leadership. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you. I'll thank you for the presentation, both of you, and I will check to see if my colleagues have any questions. Vice Chair Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. This might not be an appropriate question for you, maybe for interim COO, but I do want to know in the position for the racial equity and inclusion and belonging department, the director position. We've had 2 Black women who are leaders in the DEI field who have filled this role, and over the past almost 3 years now, they've left citing toxic and racist work environments. So I would like to know if you're working with HR or charging HR to look into why we've had such a hard time keeping someone in this particular role, to make sure that the next person who is hired is really set up to be successful in this work.
Chair Ellison, Councilmember Wansley, thank you for that question. I meant to cover that in my presentation. We are actually about to send out a request through the Target Market Program to do an organizational analysis of the department and have someone look at the duties of the folks that within REIB as well as civil rights and HR to see if if there's duplication, to kind of get a sense. The intention is not, let me just be super clear publicly, it is not to eliminate the Department of REIB. That is not something that is intended. It is really to do exactly what you just stated, which is to ensure the future success of that department. And so we hope to get that out through our Target Market Program very soon, hopefully this week. And then we will have that information as a new director takes the position. So.
Okay, so organizational analysis, and then some of the cultural pieces, is that analysis going to include that dynamic too?
Chair Ellison, Councilmember Wansley, that will involve interviews, and I would assume that would come out as well. And we do mention the culture as part of that description. So.
Okay. And then just a general comment around the 3 appointed positions in the Office of Public Service, specifically the Deputy City Operations Officers. So I do want to highlight separately, and I'll return to the organizational analysis because that is actually very key on this piece. But first, I want to highlight for the public, that we continue to add positions to the executive side. That's not coming with the adding of positions to the legislative side. We've created dozens of new positions in the executive administration, and yet on the legislative side, we still have 4 FTEs within our small but mighty legislative department that is still not fully formalized under our new government structure ordinance. We're almost a year and a half into our government structure, and while we're still devoting resources and increased staffing to the executive side, the council has very minimal resources at our disposal to help us be successful at executing our authorities on behalf of the 425,000 plus residents that we all serve collectively. So I am working with city staff, Council Vice President, hopefully to rectify this issue this summer, but I also look forward to working with the rest of my colleagues and our very tiny but mighty legislative department to expand its infrastructure as much as possible this year, and then fully take advantage of the 2024 budget to ensure that we're scaling up the same way that we're doing on the executive side. Now, going back to the positions that we're considering today.
Chair Ellison, Councilmember Ronzi, if I may just clarify, this is actually a net zero in terms of positions, because these 3 positions, as you'll recall from the budget process, were created by eliminating the deputy city coordinator position, by eliminating a position within CPED, and also there was one that was currently in place, and that was this city coordinator for communications and engagement was already in place during the budget process, as well as the REIB. That's again, that position has been elevated, but this is a net zero in terms of new positions for the administration. So I just want to be very clear on that. So thank you for, pardon me for interrupting.
Yeah, and
Thank
if
you.
you permit to, or a follow-up of how many positions we have at least formalized on the executive side, either through dissolving existing positions. I think there has been a charge with creating, at least what has come through POGO, additional positions to enact the executive side of our government restructure. Has it not?
Councilmember Ellison, Chair Ellison, Councilmember Wansley, we can look into that. I know that there were also positions that were added on the legislative side, and so we can certainly look at that. The positions that have come to the POGO committee for reclassification are really positions that exist already for the most part, but I will certainly look into that and find out if we can get you a net number for both sides. Thank you.
Great. Okay, back to my original comments in regards to also how this is impacting kind of government restructuring, somewhat similar to what I expressed with REIB of like how we're setting up these positions to be successful under this new structure. I know some of us have worked in businesses or organizations that have gone through a restructure. We know it takes months, if not years, of effective planning before it's implemented. But I do want to know, I've raised this very consistently, that our particular government structure felt very much rushed and ran through without that proper analysis or blueprint of around how it would, effectively improve city functions and the lives of Minneapolis residents. And those fundamental holes and inconsistencies that was kind of pushed through government restructure are organizational problems now that will require organizational issues that cannot be fixed through simply adding more staff. And I get these positions are being presented as critical to ensuring that the city runs more effectively and efficiently, but also our city won't run effectively or efficiently until we have a structure that is really responsive to meeting the goals of our residents and their needs. And the priority should be shaped around that. Until we do that, we can keep adding people all day, but we're adding them to something that isn't well organized around appropriate goals. And the way to do that is to heavily invest, as I mentioned, in a legislative department, in the performance management and innovation department, and through strategic planning that I know our organization is looking at. I know Councilmember Koski is really supportive of that piece too and is driving that to help us get more clear on what is our shared goals on this body. But I will note an example of how the current lack of organizational clarity is also impacting critical services like public safety. I recently had a conversation with staff from the Office of Community Safety where they shared very honestly that they did not have a clear understanding of the role of their office as it related to unarmed comprehensive public safety strategies. It seemed that it was not clear guidance given to them either by the mayor's office or other executive offices about how they should relate to those responsibilities and if they were actually leading and driving that work, especially under this government restructure. So that's the kind of problem that it won't be resolved by adding more staff. It's the kind of problem that requires us to get more clear and organized around our shared goals and a division of labor. That said, I do want to note, again, support these positions, but I do want to hammer home that no matter how many deputies we hire, the government will not function well until we address some of these fundamental issues that got sidelined during the government restructure process. So I did want to raise that in light of there's lots more conversations that needs to happen around the appointment and staffing, initiatives that we're leading up around government restructure, be it both on the executive side and legislative side.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We have a question from Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. Mine is pretty quick. Just wondering if you can walk me through how we got to the salaries, the price amount. I think as I was doing my research, some of these have more potential to make more than Governor Tim Walz, and just want to get a sense of how we got to this number and why some folks are going to make more than the current governor of Minnesota.
Okay. We have, there's a set of salary ranges for our appointed employees. There's actually not to go too deep into the weeds, but there's actually a calculator that when we plug in the points that came as the result of the classification study, it will tell us what the salary schedule should be for those positions. So that's, it was based on that. The salary schedule is basically based on linear interpolation, where as you go up in points, you go up in pay.
Oh, do you have a follow-up on that? I was just going to ask, is that, are we comparing that to other cities? Are we comparing that to cost of living here? What are some of the things that maybe go into, just examples, you don't have to explain the whole calculator,
Sure.
but a few examples that might go into the calculator?
Well, sometimes we do compare ourselves to other cities, and oftentimes we do just take what's in the calculator. And, you know, we're looking at, well, I'll just leave it there.
Thank you. And then, Councilmember Chavez, did you have any additional follow-ups on here?
Chair Ellison, I didn't have any follow-ups. I think it's just important for us to understand, like, how much folks are getting paid and how much some of that money can be used elsewhere. But thank you for the clarification and for your comments. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And then we have a few more questions from Vice Chair Wansley.
Just actually a follow-up on that. Thanks, Chair Ellison. Do any of these positions require any type of exemption from the state? I think we had to do something similar for Commissioner Cedric Alexander's, because that's another position at almost $300,000 more than Governor Waltz that we did have to seek. So will that be applicable in this case?
It will not.
Okay.
The governor's salary cap went up to over $205,000 this year because of the consumer price index inflation going up so high. So none of these positions will bump up against the governor's salary cap.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I think that is it for questions from my colleagues. And so thank you both for coming into Pogo today, and thank you for the presentation on these positions. Seeing no further discussion, I will move approval of both of these items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And those items are approved. Thank you so much again for the presentation. All right, before we adjourn, we have a few more comments from Vice Chair Wansley.
Just for the clerks, I would like to change my vote on item, I believe it's 19 on the consent agenda, to aye.
All right, thank you very much. With that, we've concluded all of the business to come before the POGO committee today, and if there is no objection, we are adjourned.
Minneapolis's 13 council members are busy making our city work better for everyone. For more information and to find your council member, go to the City of Minneapolis website.